Don't really know what to make of that. Guess that's what I'll try and do in this video. Crowds flocking out of the Stade de France. Can't believe they're not all staying for the medal presentation for England finishing third at the Rugby World Cup. But it's not really about that. Anyway, welcome back to the channel. Drop a comment down below. What did you make of the game? It wasn't great, let's be honest. Also, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you like the video, all that sort of stuff. But what to make of that? Not a great game. Do you know what? I think actually that is a reflection of where this current England team are actually. In an 80 minutes, I'd say. In that England led at one point in that game, 16 points to 3. And it wasn't a great game still, but it was probably similar to what we saw them do against South Africa the week before in the semi-final. That it was a game plan that was pretty well executed. And England fans will certainly have their says on it's not a game plan they want to see England play, they want to see them develop. I'll get onto that a little bit later in the video. But first 15 minutes or so of that game, England were on top. They took the penalties, they took the 3 points when it was an offer, they built a score, and they went through a few phases. They kicked into the corners in the Argentine 22, they turned them, they looked to put pressure on them, and that's how they scored that first try. They kicked a couple of penalties, and I was there thinking, do you know what, it's not blockbuster stuff, but this is England probably at the moment doing as well as we've seen them do under Steve Borthwick, in that it's executing a plan and doing it accurately. But then it all fell apart. And actually, I'll come on to that in just a sec, but that executing a plan accurately is what England haven't done for a lot of the tenure that Steve Borthwick's had so far. If you look back on the Six Nations, if you look at the World Cup warm-ups, if you look at the complaints that this team have levelled at them so far in this World Cup, it's been when they've been trying to play a style and haven't been able to execute it. So we saw it good for 15 minutes, and then I don't know what happened. Yeah, I really don't know what happened. Defence looked leggy again, and it was something I think we saw in the Samoa game towards the end of the pool stages, where I think if you put pace on the ball, if you look to stretch this England defence, then there's some good gains to be made if you're an opposition team playing against England. But yeah, I feel like at the moment this is almost an 80 minutes that encapsulates England. They're showing us a brief glimpse of the game plan they want to execute, and when they can execute it well, we're seeing that it can be effective. But overall, are we seeing enough? And I'm glad they've won. Let's give them credit for holding on in the end. Certainly for the last 15 minutes of that game, the momentum of it felt to me as if they were going to lose it. Massive missed penalty from Argentina to try and level the scores up. I actually thought it was the wrong decision to go for the post because of the momentum of the game. England's only try in that second half was when Theo Dan charged it down. I felt like the smarter decision for Argentina would be to keep the pressure on. I think England were going to break. They went for the points, they missed it, and England end up holding on. But it is an important win for England, and this goes back to what I said in my preview videos, which was I don't really care England finishing third at the World Cup. I don't think finishing third, finishing fourth, I personally don't think that overly matters. But what does matter is keeping winning now. If they'd finished this World Cup with a defeat, particularly a defeat which of that sort of manner, where they led 16-3 and they let Argentina come back into it and they end up losing the game, it would have just been really negative around the team again. And I'm sure there's going to be a fair bit of negativity after that, but I would say at least they've won. At least they've come through this World Cup with a spirited performance in the semi-final. They've got a victory here against Argentina, and let's see where they go next. And I guess that brings me on to the main question really from this video, because the third, fourth place playoff was never going to be something that any of us cared too much about. But how do you assess this Rugby World Cup from an England perspective? Good win against Argentina in game one. Not a great performance in beating Japan in game two. Smashed Chile as we expected them to do. Underwhelmed against Samoa. Played some good stuff against Fiji, but then ended up holding on in that game to get through to the semi-finals. And then a semi-final performance which for almost 60 minutes was close to perfect. They lose by a point and they weren't too far off getting to a World Cup final, and then holding on here to beat Argentina again and finish third. What do you make of it? I think it probably goes back to what I've said already, in that there is small green shoots for England, and they are small at the moment. This team has a long way to go. They need to expand their attacking game. Their defence needs to improve as well, because once they get stretched, then they look like they are going to ship points. But have they given themselves a slight platform? I think it's undeniable that England are in a much better place now after this World Cup than where they were at the beginning. They've come third. Ben Earl has been outstanding, England's player of the World Cup. There's things for Borthwick and those coaches to work upon. And I don't know, maybe the comment section is going to say I'm being far too positive. It's been levelled at me that I've been far too negative about England over this World Cup. But I do just feel now we've reached the end of it from the England perspective, there's something there. There's something there for them to move forward with. It's not amazing. They're far from being world beaters yet. Yes, they finished third, but we all know they're not the third best team in the world. But I think compared to where they came into this World Cup, maybe there is something there for them to build forward on. But you can let me know if you agree with that in the comment section. Let's mention a few people. Tom Curry on his 50th. Congratulations to him. Quite a week over the last 7 days or so. Thought he had a good performance, got a turnover early on. A farewell to Ben Youngs. A brilliant England career. 127 caps, the most capped England men's player. I did think it was a reminder today of how Father Time's caught up with him a little bit. Father Time's probably an unfair expression. He's still a professional athlete, but he was slow to the ball. His kicking game wasn't great. It wasn't his finest performance, but he has had an absolutely brilliant England career. And I wanted to mention Henry Arundel, and this is a fascinating one. I'm really intrigued to where you all stand on this. I thought this game epitomised why Henry Arundel in a lot of ways isn't ready yet. And a lot of you will say England aren't playing to his strengths. He doesn't get any forward momentum. We don't look threatening at all in attack, and I do appreciate that that is true. But I think when you look at some of the fundamentals today that you need as a winger to be part of this England team, the kick chase, smashing the opposition player that catches the ball when he does, the things that Johnny May and Elliot Daly did brilliantly last week, he didn't really do at all. And I don't think he has it to that level in his game at the moment. You could hear Owen Farrell on the ref mic constantly being at Henry Arundel, come on Henry, driving on, trying to drive him forward. And maybe it's a negative presence that's been levelled at Owen Farrell before about his intensity and what it does to young players coming into that England setup. But I just thought in some of the fundamentals of his game, Henry Arundel is a player with a huge amount of potential. But maybe we saw some of those essentials that aren't quite at the level that's needed in this England team at the moment. That might be really unfair. As I say, you can let me know. Ben Earl, I've mentioned, he's been outstanding throughout this World Cup. And what about Argentina? Argentina, I don't know, funny old team. They will feel like that is an opportunity that has missed them by. You still feel like they are a side that if you give them hope, then they can get into it against any team. If you take that hope away, which is what England failed to do here, then you can put points on them and they can fall apart. And there were still elements of this game. What did they have? 2 penalties where they kicked a touch, didn't find touch. One of those in the second half, a really important moment in the game, again, when they were building momentum. We saw drop balls when they were looking to build pressure as well. So Argentina is a World Cup. They finished 4th. I think that's important for rugby in the country to keep it growing, keep the interest there. But I think they have a lot of building blocks to put in place as well. So those are my immediate thoughts, really, from this World Cup. For me, it's a platform for England to move forward from without getting ahead of ourselves, that they have an awful, awful long way to go. Let me know what you made of it. What have you made of England at this World Cup? What have you made of their performance here? And what do you make of them coming third? I mean, no one cares, let's be honest. Coming third doesn't particularly mean anything, but there we go. You can let me know. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. Make sure you like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.